So I'm just sitting here. Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is a place of higher consciousness, and I'm just sharing some insight that I got. Today was my dad's birthday. March 15th was my grandmother's birthday. March 16th was my birthday. March 14th was my birth father's, one who gave me life, birthday. And so I'm just sitting here and I'm communing with them, listening to music. You may be able to hear it in the background ever so vaguely. But I had some thoughts that as I was sitting here was able to gather. And I just wanted to read some of what I was downloading, having conversation with them. And I was thinking about it earlier today. It just was like a thought that popped up in my head. And it's just that, like I think a lot of times we're so disconnected from the reality of our ancestors because of the transatlantic slave trade. And then from the trauma, there was a woman who can't think of her name right now, but she had named what we experience as people of color, the post-traumatic slavery syndrome. So a lot of us have trauma. And when you have trauma, it disconnects you from your truth. It disconnects you from your ancestry. You're not even living in the present moment as to where you can really, dig into your background in that way. But as you start to heal yourself, as you start to heal the traumas and the things like that, your ancestors will make way for you and you will make way for them. When you heal yourself, you start to heal your ancestry. And when you start to heal yourself at a very deep level, it's almost as if it's an automatic connection. When you start to do the work and actually heal your bloodline, your ancestors will make themselves present to you. And so people be like, well, I'm Christian, I don't do that. Yes, you do. You practice ancestor veneration. Every time someone, and I'm gonna pause the music for a second, just for copyright infringement, but we've gotten so disconnected from our roots, and it really boils down to us not knowing our history and our lineage and ourselves. Like when you really learn yourself, when you really can be present for yourself, you can be present for all of your ancestry and all of your lineage, no matter what your family dynamic look like, because we all have ancestors. And so, okay, back to the comment. I was about to go on a tangent. I oftentimes hear people say of various religions, excuse me, I'm going to dip offline and do what I got to do. But oftentimes hear people of various religions make statements that will say stuff like, oh, I don't believe in doing that. That's witchcraft. I don't believe in doing that voodoo or blah, 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 blah. Every time you let a balloon off for somebody who passed away, that's ancestor veneration. Every time you pour a little bit out for your homies, that's ancestor veneration. For those of you who have pictures around your home and you have plants around them that you water, and those plants are growing ever so beautifully around those different spaces. People have different pictures in different places in their house, but I'm using this as an example because I know somebody does right now in their home. And right now they sit right there in that living room with their Bible, crack it open and start reading off Psalms and start reading off different parts of those books. Those family members more than likely practiced some form of something of prayer, and you're communing with them even when you don't even know it. So there's various things that we do as people of color, particularly. I'm not sectioning anybody out because, spirit is going to move where spirit is going to move. But I'm speaking directly to people of African descent for this particular video, only because it's important for this part of the journey that I too am also on. And our ancestors are super powerful. So I wanted to start with that. And then so I got some downloads, and it says, You know, we are merely a hybrid of our ancestors. Everything we do is a ritual, you know. We are the concrete evidence that we're the concrete evidence that they were here. You know, I hear people say, oh, well, I'm not my ancestors. Well, maybe you're not, but I know for damn sure I am. I am very proud to be from the lineage that I come from, because they were no pushovers. They were not weak people. They fought tooth and nail for everything they believed in, from the Vikings that I come from on down to, because we all got something in us, you know, even those who may have, you know, maybe they just have a higher percentage of DNA from Africa, right? But we all are mixed to some degree, and meaning maybe mixed in our thoughts and the way that we have been raised. Maybe we don't have like you know, like your lineage and your structure. It's not uniform. You know what I mean? It's not like this easy peasy construct. If that was the case, then none of us would be here, right? So it says, what has been stolen from us is us knowing who we are at the very core of our existence. And we will always search for what is outside of us when we don't understand our inner being and manifestation of light, right? It will be misconstrued by those who don't know you, who they are, and they will not understand nor seek when it's not in direct relation to where they are. Or for that reason, we remove people swiftly. So a lot of you may be in a part of your life at this time with Mercury and retrograde. It may be exposing people in your life that's just not supposed to be there. And so our ancestors show themselves in a myriad of ways in our life. Oftentimes we may attribute it to something that's not relative to a direct relation to our family lineage, whereas we may just say, oh, well, you know, I prayed about that and that was God. And it might very well have been God, but God also has assistance, and he works through people, places, and things, as well as spirit and the spirit realm. So it's kind of like when you go to church and you receive the Holy Spirit, and you jumping around, and you know, you're jumping around and you're receiving spirit. Or, you know, maybe you might be at a drumming and you get mounted by one of the Orisha, and you're receiving a message, and that message is going out to the people. Ancestors are intertwined very much in the way they show up in a variety of ways in our lives. We're evidence of that. I, in no way, shape, or form am I disconnected from that truth of who my ancestors is. I'll show you my, I took some pictures, so I'll probably add it into the video at some point. They said in our realm, there's no time without beginning. An infinite definition of expansion. Like, we're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. We've gotten away from our true path, and we're starting to get back on. So a lot of us, as they're calling it, woke culture, yeah, we're awakening to the truth of who we are. And we're no longer going to allow external functions to tell us that, because they have told us for too long who we are. And 400 years to be exact. And we have fought tooth and nail to make them see us. We're not doing that no more. Not in 2025. 2024, 2025 would be the year of exposure. We live in changing times, and we see that things are happening around us, and we can either continue to keep complaining about that change, or we can make change within our own selves, within our relationships, within our community, friendships, business partnerships. The most important of all that is the relationship you have with yourself. And then it expands, you know, like outwardly. And then so it says, when someone in our life dies, we pour a little out. As I said before, for the homies, we celebrate by balloon throwing, you know, like letting the balloons go up in the air. This is Ancestor Veneration, having pictures, lighting candles, putting plants up, having our small memorials. We see all, and we don't want to be forgotten. And then the question came up, or the example was, think about how insignificant you all feel when your thoughts, feelings, and beingness is ignored. Just because we don't have a physical body doesn't mean that we don't wonder that you all forget about us. And I think oftentimes we bury our loved ones in these graves, and we leave their bodies there to turn cold, and then we forget that they exist because we haven't been taught to do that. We haven't been given the guidebook or the rule book to that. So when we see people venture off from the status quo where everybody in the family is practicing only one practice and somebody goes off to do their own thing, it's blasphemy. When in actuality, they're just coming back to their true selves, or they're trying to find a path that's right for them and feels good for them. So the question was, why do you think there's power in connection with the spirit? Is there stillness? Is there in stillness, or it says when there's stillness, we can heal our higher selves in communion with the other. The light, prayer, church, synagogue, daimoku, the call of that essence, a myriad of things. We call that essence a myriad of things. At the altar, be it an external or a display of love. It could be at the altar of marriage or at the presence of an ending of life. We are there. Spirit is ever evolving, and so is human condition. And so you can only be held down when we accept our fate. So it says, spirit is ever evolving, and so is human condition. You can only be held down when we accept our fate. Abundance comes from a wellspring of deep inner love that permeates without. And so I'll leave you with that. It was a short message that I wanted to give from doing Ancestor Veneration, and every single person will get a different message. You just have to open your heart up. But I like to expound on what it looks like. I like to experience and expound on that. So if you have any questions about Ancestor Veneration, I will be willing to dialogue with you and talk to you about it. But I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. I'm still moving with the flow of my evolution. And anything I don't know, I will not guide you in the right direction, but I will get you somebody who can answer it. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Peace, peace.